in the vaudeville. They had real talent.
Speaking of funny podcast.
Not this young stuff you had today. You call it funny. Speaking of funny.
And speaking of that, so last Monday, I knew I was only going to be able to accept one source of anything last Monday after the Oscars. So I went on your live, and the range of comedians that he allowed to come on with him to speak on it, like Lunel was on there, Mark Henderson was on there, Steve Brown was on there, some people I'd never heard of, but I went and looked up all of them because I was like, Howard, it's just a connection type thing. And I think because what he said about being a student, he's able to bridge those gaps. Whereas if I know some older comedians who they only know older comedians, they only know the cats they came up with because they're just constantly going, oh no. But what I wanted to talk about, since, I don't want to talk about the slap. Everybody and their mamas done talked about that.
Okay.
What I wanted to talk about was, I thought that your live was brilliant because what it brought up was different things that nobody was talking about, like the mental health aspect of it. You know what I'm saying? Not just who's right, who's wrong, but how Black men are expected to have this whole little, we've got ourselves together, and then something happens and everybody's like, oh, what? Like, people just can't snap. The side of it where no matter what, somebody looks like a punk. Like, no matter how much people were like, Chris Rock was professional, in the Black community, if you don't slap somebody back, you look like a punk.
Oh, absolutely.
The toxic mask. So I was just, the fact that you were able to have a conversation that brought up so much, and then some of the answers were shocking. Were you shocked by some of the answers that you got from some people in that live?
I mean, when you ask a person a question, they say you should never ask a person a question that you don't know the answer to. And so when you ask a person a question, you assume that they're going to respond a certain way, and like Mark Henderson surprised me. He was very, very pro Will Smith.
Pro Will.
And I am pro Jada. And I just found that to be interesting. He was really adamant about, like, yo, we must protect our women. And I thought that was really interesting. And I can't take that away from him. I had to just, take him and listen to him, where his perspective. And people gave me a lot of food for thought, because I was thinking one way, and you have to open your mind up to accommodate other people's ideas. And so that gives you a more round look at the whole situation. Sure, you could demonize Will Smith, but I mean, your wife did come under attack, and what we don't know is the private conversations they had, and the nights where he had to hold her because she's crying because the alopecia is that bad on her. A woman to lose her hair, that's a lot, and so as you process that, you're like, wow, forget what I think, maybe they have a point. And so, anytime you're doing interviews, and I've had a chance to watch some great people host shows, you have to have a real thirst for knowledge, and if it's about you, it can sound whack, and you can be disingenuous, but I believe that if you have a real thirst for the truth, for the knowledge because like I say all the time, when I do shows like that, I'm like, look, am I losing my mind or this? Because I might be, Rodney Perry could be way off. And, because I'm very comfortable with being wrong. And sometimes I'm wrong.
So what was your take on it? I didn't, I missed the live. Sonny let me know about it too late.
Initially, I felt like Jada drove the whole situation. I felt like she hijacked Will's night. I felt like that our wives, our women sometimes understand how to press our buttons. I'm a man that's married, again, 25 years, and the only person in the world that can press my buttons is that lady upstairs. And so I think she had the opportunity to shut all of that down with a will. Stop. And so that's my initial response. But then after hearing other people's ideas, I'm like, okay, well, maybe it wasn't about her. Maybe it's about Will. And after reading his book, taking that in, you go, well, maybe he was really going through something right then, and Chris Rock just got caught up in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
That's what I was telling folks. Like, you don't get to choose when you snap. You don't get to choose how you snap. It just happens.
Right.
And so that might have just been his moment.
And then how about this as another school of thought? When black men had a luxury of snapping.
Okay.
You know, I mean, that's something that's another thing, you know. Yeah. And so there's so many schools of thought that it brought up, and it made us really have to have a real honest conversation. And I think some people grabbed that conversation with me and Lunel, and that part went viral, you know. And it was like, we need to pay y'all because we use y'all video. I was like, just post my stuff when I need it posted.
Right.
Yeah, because when she came on there, like I think like you were getting ready to want to jump off, and then she came on, and then that made it like a whole nother 45 minutes, but it was very insightful. You know, it was like, cause I'm not gonna lie, black men sitting around blaming Jada for this, I understand her role, but if me and you get into a fight, you can't, people can't go back and be like, oh, Rodney's wife should have did this. Ultimately, your actions and my actions are the only two that counted. Right. So that's what I was getting mad at. And so when she brought that aspect into the conversation where she was actually kind of agreeing that Jada was at fault, I was like, oh, never mind, let me shut up.
Right. But again, it's so many little schools of thought that it just makes you stop and go, I don't have to be right here for all of us to benefit. You know what I mean?
Right.